What's going on, Real Life Nation? How's everybody doing? Hope everyone had a great week so far. Hello, Paul. Hello, Renee. Hello, everyone. So I did want to, in case you did not hear, Jerremy and Svetlana had their baby yesterday. Here's what he wrote me. He said, Jason, J, which is interesting spelling, by the way. J-S-O-N, Jason without the A. Jason was 7 pounds, 13 ounces, and 21 inches long. And mom and baby, everyone is doing fine. So congratulations to Jerremy and Svetlana adding to their family. Super happy for them. Jerremy got married earlier this year, and he's getting after it. So getting that family started. So super happy for him and Svetlana. They are amazing. So I did want to touch on a few things real quick. One is I was just looking at our time capsule. For those of you new, our time capsule is basically some stocks that I bought at the end of last year in December. And wouldn't you know that this little booger, Mongo database, look at that massive gap up and run higher. Wow. I was not expecting, I was expecting some kind of a sell-off, but Moon Lambo. So congratulations to those of you who got into Mongo database. Wow. Wow. I'll just say that. And even though in our time capsule here, you'll see that even though, oops, right here, even though Pinterest and Fast are kind of sneaking it up, even then you still got some winners that are just carrying the load for everyone else. So all the other positions. So 3 out of the 5 positions look strong, 2 not so great, which this is kind of rough when you're down 45% on that, but it's not the end of the world, right? We have until December 2025. So we have a few months. When I say a few months, I mean, what, 53 months, something like that left. So plenty of time for that to come around, turn around, not the end of the world, but this is the type of thing you think I'm going to focus on these, or I'm going to focus on the ones that are winning, right? It depends on where you spend your time and attention. Like these are done. I mean, they're down already, so there's nothing to do. I don't really plan to take action on any of that, but I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys first. But let's switch over. There we go. Boom. All right, let's talk about the markets. SPY closing almost just a little bit below all-time highs. Is anybody surprised? Seems like every single Friday. Here we were last Friday, and the Friday before that was here. The Friday before that was here. The Friday before that was here, like all-time highs almost every single Friday. So be bullish. You don't try to anticipate or predict what's going to happen. Just go with the trend. If the trend is bullish, be bullish. If the escalator is going up, go with it. Don't try to fight it. And no matter what happens in the stock market, the rest of the world, Afghanistan, like no matter what, we're still going higher. So it really doesn't matter what my opinion, if I project my opinion, my worldview, my politics on any of this, the stock market doesn't care. It's going to rampage Jackson higher. So just follow the trend, be patient, let it work. Let it work on your behalf. Same thing with the Qs, not quite all-time highs, but I guess that's the highest close. On Wednesday, we touched a little bit, didn't quite hold, but again, very, very bullish. DIA, pretty much same thing. And then IWM, just a little bit off. IWM has been chopping, kind of going sideways here since February. So yeah, be bullish. The trend is your friend until the bend in the end. So yep, until the bend in the end. So that's kind of the overall markets team. The IWM represents the small caps. Don't say short caps, small caps rather. And we got this nice kind of double bottom right here off this. Looks like we're continuing higher, as with all the other indexes as well. So Let's jump into Mongo database. So for those of you who are a fan of the Momo strategy, I know some of you have reached out to me. They're like, Matt, are you still in Mongo database? I am both in my trading account, in my automation account, and in my long-term. The signal gave us a buy signal here. Now, did I know it was going to gap up on earnings? No. But the trend, even before earnings, was bullish, right? Trend is bullish. We're still the green above the red. We're in, we're bullish. We're just going to take all these signals, even if it chops around, and you get rewarded for that. So boom, boom, boom. There we go. So if you're not in Mongo, I do not necessarily recommend you jump in right here. I do not recommend that. You probably want to, the thing I was looking at earlier, if you look at this massive volume, I think this is going to hold fairly well right here at the 462 level for a while. Now, tomorrow, Monday could be typically on these big moves, is tomorrow might be an inside candle. So imagine buying, you know, half this big, long, huge candle. Imagine buying half of that kind of halfway down the candle. Imagine setting just a little bitty order, maybe a few shares, tippy toeing in, nothing crazy, but do not go full bore, 100% right there. Historically, that does not work well. So strategically, not the best option, or the best way to jump into a stock that's already had a huge move. Now, why do I say that? Well, at this point, you want to be selling up here. So for those of you who are in already, so one option, something you could do, obviously the market's closed right now for options, but something you could do is you could set up a covered call. You can sell a covered call up here at 540. And then if you want to get fancy, you want to be like Justin Maxwell, Craig Levine, and you wanted to lock in your gains without actually selling. How crazy is that? You could buy, I don't know, maybe a 500 or so, somewhere in here, buy a protective put. So imagine collecting money, collecting some plus dollar signs up here, and then using most of that and then some to buy a protective put here, meaning if it goes lower, you're still protected, right? You're kind of locking in your gains and you have the shares. So something to think about if you are in it already. Wow. I don't think I've seen one of these growth stocks do this it's been a while since I've seen this. And this looks like a Tesla, I'm sorry, a SpaceX rocket just blasting off, right? It's got a little nose cap, boom, blasting off, going to the moon, Lambo, going to the moon. Yep. All right, so again, nothing to do in here except if you're in, maybe consider locking in your gains and or setting up a collar. But I would not be a buyer. Now, it may retest this gap. Some of you guys have asked about this as well, is what happens to this gap? Will it retest? Yes, it will. I don't know if it's going to happen right away because of this massive volume. So if I was to scroll out and look to the left, I don't see any buying volume that's even close to that. The only most recent one would be right here. Would you guys see the base of those really tall candles that have lots of buying volume? The base of the candle acts like strong support. So especially when it straddles this 200 some moving average. So just be mindful of that. Do not jump in at all-time highs. Don't be that guy. Somebody's got to do it, but it doesn't have to be you. So give it some time, be patient. Of course, it will at some point retest and fill this gap. I think there's it's like 72.8% chance that will happen sometime in the next 6 months. So be patient. Don't expect that to happen tomorrow. But again, tomorrow meaning Monday, you probably get an inside candle where it's going to gap down a little bit. Just trade kind of inside, meaning we're not quite sure if it's going to go higher or lower. Just chop around a little bit, and we'll see which direction it ends up deciding which way it wants to go. Next up is Square. Square is one of my favorites. I like this one long term. Same thing here. We have this massive buying volume that came in a few weeks ago. Again, the base of that acts like strong support. So you can imagine that there's a thick green line drawn on your screen right there for Square. I do like this both long-term, and I have some shares of this as well. Sorry, not shares, some options, call options on this as well. But chopping around, doing its thing, 30-minute Momo, chopping around, 78-minute, same thing. So daily trend is bullish on the daily, absolutely. Trend is bullish. So Square is a good one long-term, something you want to just consider buying the dip. You want to look for some kind of a reversal candle, maybe something in this area where it might sell off a little bit. You have some open orders waiting to buy, and then a continuation higher. So I will be adding to, I just have let's see, I have 2 contracts of Square right now. So just be very, very, very mindful that again, you don't necessarily want to buy up here. You do want to wait for some kind of a pullback. And the base of this candle looks like a pretty solid spot to, it didn't quite come down there right here at this level, but you just kind of want to wait, be patient, have some open orders, do nothing, just keep those orders open, see what happens. All right, Tesla, I do have some options on Tesla, and I have three contracts on this. And I bought, let me show you exactly what I did on Tesla. Okay, so here's what I did. I like Tesla on the 30-minute chart for Momo. It works just a little bit better. The 78-minute chart absolutely works better. Or I'm sorry, the 78-minute chart works. The 30 works a little bit better just on Tesla. So little tip, little trick there. Again, so I'm buying the 7:15 call options right here on this day. I think that was on Tuesday, the 27th was what day was that? It was last Friday. Yep. It's okay. So last Friday. That's right. Last Friday. Yeah. So I bought 7:15 call options on this day because of this trigger on 30-minute on Momo. Okay. So I got in, I think at the end of the day, I closed, I was down just a little bit on that. And then you guys can see what happened. Monday came in and boom. So at the end of the day on Monday, let's see, here we are 12, give me some more candles. Okay, so this last candle right here, I went ahead and set up a collar. I had three contracts. So what I did was I set up a covered call at 7:40 and a protective put at 7:30. So I collected some cash here and I used that to help finance pretty much 75% of this. So I collected 2709 up here and I spent 3297. So out of pocket, right? Kind of came out of pocket about $600 for insurance. So I'm locking in my gains without actually selling. So I had 3 contracts and I did that with 1. So the very next day we go even higher. And up here, I did the same thing, but at slightly different levels. I sold 2 covered calls up here at 750 and I bought a protective put down here at 740. So now I'm kind of like straddled this, probably not the best use of word. I have different layers, different ladders set up here where I'm locked in my gains at different levels. So anything above 750, 2 of the 200 or 2 contracts get taken away. Anything above 740, then the other one gets taken away. But I locked in my gains at the 1 at this level, sorry, 2 at this level and 1 at this level. So as we play out the rest of the week, you guys can see there's a lot of ups and downs with Tesla. Tends to be a little bit choppy, which is fine. Everyone loves the volatility. Boom. So instead of actually selling, I've already locked in my gains. Does it make sense? So that's kind of what I have right now on Tesla, playing that like a champ. We'll see what happens, but I got a little bit of time. Got October 1st on that, so I got a good a little less than a month left. Does anyone have any questions on that? Yeah, great question, Tony. Why call options instead of shares if you're long term? I am long term Tesla. However, I took this one in my trading account, which is more short term. So, yeah, great question. And Robert Falco is reminding us that Tuesday was Labor Day. Yep. So Tuesday we are reopening. Monday we're closed for Labor Day. in the US markets. I don't think, I guess yeah. Yep. Any questions on that, team? Great question, Tony. Yep. All right, next is CrowdStrike. So let's look at it on a bigger picture. CrowdStrike, a little bit of a indecision high wave candle right here on CrowdStrike. So it gives you an opportunity to buy the dip. I like dips that are a little more of a dip, not just a little 2% dip. I like a 10 or 25% dip personally. So what that means is buying down here in this zone or down here would be the ideal dip. I know a lot of times we tend to get super excited and buy every little tiny dip, thinking that these growth stocks will dip 2%, you're going to buy a whole bunch of it. Well, if it dips 2%, you buy a whole bunch, and then it dips another 20, 30, 40, 50, 70%, you're going to be upside down. So be mindful of that. Just be careful when you're buying, not at all-time highs, obviously, but near all-time highs. Yes, we kind of got ran over with TWLO. I'll show you that one in a second. I got some new, I'm updating my watch list, so I'll share that with you guys here in just a sec. But CrowdStrike, for those of you who aren't familiar with playing like an indecision candle, something like this, you would get a candle like this. This is kind of like, I don't know, probably like a shooting star. And so the idea is shooting star, and then you have an inside candle like this and indecision. So high wave candle, maybe a doji. So the idea was if you want to play long, you want to use like a stop limit order where you're breaking above the high of this candle, usually with a stop maybe a little lower. So the idea is if we're going higher, if you only want to play the long side of that, you can absolutely do that. And you set up an order and you say, hey, if we go above that level on the very next day, like today, boom, you're in, you're golden. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to rocket higher, but it does mean that you are triggered in because the price action moved above the previous day. And my experience has been that inside day candles and indecision, doji or high wave candles, and an inside is like a double indecision, right? You can kind of see here, there's kind of hit some previous resistance, right? So old resistance becomes kind of the new support when it kind of turns around, does a little bit of pivot. So that's CrowdStrike. No, if you didn't get into that, you certainly can just have an open order down here. So you would use a limit buy now. If you're not in already, just use a limit buy to, you're waiting for some kind of a pullback below that level on CrowdStrike, something like this. Limit buy. And you're not using a stop limit because the price action already come above. So 275.18. So let's do something like this. Give it a little bit of wiggle room. All right, next up is Elastic. Some of these, again, pushing or at or near all-time highs. Not a time to buy. This is a time to sell. If you're in, either lock in gains and or set up collars. Collars allow you to lock in gains without actually selling the actual underlying shares. So be mindful of that. But we had what, almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, team? 6 days in a row of bullish candles. Very, very, very little. You got a little bit of selling volume here on this day. This green dollar sign, yep, indicates that it's time to check for some put option. Those of you who like to sell put options, I haven't done tons of put options, just a few hundred contracts all year. But I mean, when we're up here in the nosebleeds, I'm a little too, I don't know, cautious, careful, and trying to jump into a bunch of put option contract when we're pushing all-time highs on the indexes, because when those roll over, these are going to roll over too, and then you're just going to get ran. You're going to get ran over. So I don't mind selling them a little bit here or there, but I just don't go in big and heavy like I used to. Got my face rolled over before. It's not fun. Not fun to work hard for 8 months and give back all your gains in 1 or 2 or 3 months. Not fun. Don't be that guy and don't pay the stupid tax. We've all done things like that before. I know we have conversations all the time with traders who've done that, and you almost have to like feel the pain of that to really fully appreciate that and not do that again. It's like the bruises and the pain bring the lessons, and unless there's pain, there's going to be a lot of lessons, right? Because it didn't cost you anything to make a dumb mistake. And for those of you who have staff and team members, you guys know exactly, for those of you entrepreneurs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So elastic lock-in gains, but anything of a pullback into this level is, I think, very much viable. Our moving averages are almost touching, so set up some levels if you're interested in buying on elastic. This one is one of, I would say, my top 5 performers so far this year. Elastic. Okay, next up is Shopify, our favorite e-commerce software provider. Shopify is just kind of hanging out, been chopping around since June, past few months. You guys can see that just kind of chops around, kind of going sideways, hitting its head a little bit here on some of these levels. But what I'm really waiting for is to get back down here. I did buy some back in early March, back through here, and I added a little bit more back through here, and so got some nice gains on the books that we've locked in for Shopify. However, again, just like all these growth stocks, when you're at or near all-time highs, you need to consider locking in gains, not necessarily jumping in. Now, I know what most people think. Most new traders are like, oh, it's going higher, I need to jump in. But once it's already made a huge move like this one, even look at this right here, 5 candles in a row. Somebody somewhere thinks that that's a time to jump in, right? And somebody somewhere is going to be the guy, going to be the lady, man, woman who says, I'm going to buy right there because look at it. You can't stop it. And then what happens, team? Then you're like, bah, 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 bah. It's a predictable pattern, especially when you have multiple like candles in a row. And in case you're not clear on, this is not a time to be, this is a time to sell up here. Look at what happened before. Right, it's gonna roll over. It's gonna chop a little bit. It has to consolidate. So imagine climbing a really steep mountain. There's gonna be, like Robert Falco, Jeremy did just a few months ago. Before you get to new heights, you got to take a rest. You have to take a rest. You have to take a breath. There has to be some kind of a resting period before you make new highs, before you make the climb higher. So that's kind of what this does. It sells off, goes sideways. Chops a little bit more, goes a little bit lower, and then here we are. Boom, back at that level. So again, be super careful. What I'm doing on these is I'm sending up more orders down here. So there's nothing wrong with having open limit orders. Will they fill? I don't know. Time will tell. But if we have some open limit orders, just go ahead and open them up now. Maybe you buy a few shares here at each of these levels. You're able to be calm and let the price action come to you. You're not chasing it higher. Now, what happens if on Monday it just moon Lambo's higher? Well, then it moves without me. I'm going to wait for a more of a pullback than this. This is not, I mean, these growth stocks, when they pull back, they pull back. You guys can see right here, this is kind of what happened in February and March. You guys see it pulled back, like it made some big moves. None of this little 10% pullback stuff. I mean, 25, 30, 35, 40% pullback stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to buy. I don't really like to buy, 5% pullbacks, 10% pullbacks. I like the big stuff. Any questions on that? Any thoughts on that? Otherwise, let's move on. All right, NVIDIA. So I got 4 open orders. I don't know we're going to be making it down here. NVIDIA is one of those that almost every week we're making all-time highs as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close my orders on this. I don't know that we're going to get back here. I think we need more of a overall market sell-off to push some of these stocks a little bit lower. So I'm canceling my orders on NVIDIA. Again, all-time highs, don't be a buyer up here. Don't be that guy. I'm going to be, so I had my orders lower. Let's just revisit. So I had my orders back through here when I set them up in July, right through here. Well, the moving averages were there. However, the moving averages have now come up quite a bit. So I'm gonna reassess my levels, but I really want some more sell-offs first before I decide to set my levels. Otherwise, I'm just tying up my buying power, waiting for some of this that may or may not ever happen. So that's what I'm planning to do on NVIDIA. It is, I mean, who wouldn't love, look at this team. Does this look bullish to anybody but me? I mean, look at that. That's a weekly chart of NVIDIA. I mean, not too long ago, it was in the, actually it was in the 20s. I remember, well, it did have a split. Well, let's say 30s and 40s back here. Early, let's say 2019. So it went from like 30s to 228. I mean, that's quite the run, right? Quite the run on that. And in case you don't know when to get in, what to do, let's go look at something like Momo on a 78-minute time frame. Something like this. We had quite a run back here this summer, and I think this is our longest automated hold yet. Kind of a new set a new record. Where we got in over here, held, went higher, boom, 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 and then the automation sold, locked in a profit. But I believe that was a 2-month hold time. And again, if you don't know when to get in, what strategy you're using, for those of you with advanced degrees, buy and sell is pretty simple. It tells you exactly what to do. And in case you're not around the computer, you can also add an alert. So you can add an alert. You can go in here, say, I want to trend reversing once per bar close. NVIDIA, take action. Boom. Set it up. Set an alert for yourself. So that's, I mean, in case you're not sure what to do or when to get in, when to get out, the cool thing that I've really come to appreciate about this strategy is it kind of automatically takes care of the winners. So the winners, once you're like this, it's in long right now, even if you just have a few shares, but anything that starts rolling over and going lower, it's going to sell, right? So imagine you get into a trade and it just doesn't work out right away, or if it chops around. So imagine something like this, and you guys can appreciate this, but imagine getting into a trade like this where it says buy, you buy at the close of the candle. You wait for a sell signal. That is a pretty dramatic candle. Lots of drama there, right? You take a small loss, no big deal, not the end of the world. And if you're just long only, you're waiting for another trigger to jump back in bullish. So you want this to kind of sell off so that the trend can reverse, or the moving averages can reverse, and you can jump in. So let's see what happens. Boom. You get in here, you buy at the close of the candle right here. And you guys can see our moving averages are going in the right direction. And then boom, you play it out, right? And you just let it do its thing. But the cool part is, my point is that if you're in a trade that's just not working and it goes lower, it's automatically going to kick out. It's going to kick you out of the trade. Like the strategy would recommend that you sell, that you take a small loss, right? And even if it chops around a little bit, this more than pays for those small paper cut losses, more than pays for them. And it's not only does it follow the trend, but it also just dumps the losers and keeps the winners. So otherwise, some of you guys may not have had enough patience to just stick through this. Maybe you guys would have manually locked in. Oops, let's fast forward that. Maybe you guys would have manually locked in gains on a day like this, where if you just stick with it, you can, I mean, we're up another $13 above this level, where some of you guys would see a big candle, you're like, oh, I'm going to lock in gains, but stick with it. Let it work out another $13 per share. So imagine having, even if you had a few dozen shares or a few hundred shares, right? $13 more of gainage when you just stick with the strategy and let it play out. Falcos is the next $1 trillion company. Yeah, actually, let's take a look at the, let's see. If I were to sort by market cap, so we have, wow, we've got quite a few. We've got $6 trillion companies, Apple, Microsoft, Google. I never understood Google and Google, like, how do they both have different market caps? Do you know the answer to that, Robert? How do they have different market caps? So we'll just say 5 companies, I guess. Amazon, Facebook, just lump these two together. All tech companies, ladies and gentlemen. You don't see any delivery companies, no food ordering companies, no Groupon, no GoPro. Yeah, it's same thing with Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's because they're both, well, there are two different, there's like A and a B class, but I'm not sure how they have, do you add these? I don't think you add these two together, but they're different. So I don't know. It's a mystery that will remain a mystery, but NVIDIA is definitely climbing its way up the list here at, we'll say number 10, technically on the list. And these are all US companies except for BABA and TSM. And ASML, never heard that one, ASML. So NVIDIA, yep. So I know there's a lot of people who think, oh, chip makers, you know, that's the old school, literally how Silicon Valley got its name, silicon wafers. But I mean, look at this beast. I mean, they got into gaming early. They got into all the chip makers, the chips that go into all these mining rigs that are used for mining different cryptos. I mean, be bullish, but don't buy right here. So one of the things that I've learned is when you see a stock that you like, does that mean buy it right now at the current price? Is that what that means? So what you need to know is, first thing you need to understand when you're swing trading is when to buy. When to buy. And usually a strategy will dictate that. Maybe you're buying off a hammer candle, right? Maybe you're buying off moving averages, but this is super, super important, is when to buy. The second thing, I see this all the time with my coaching students, is when to lock in gains. Third is when to sell for a loss. It's a loss. When to sell for a loss. But you'd be surprised how many times people will, well, I see it all the time. Let's talk about our favorite stock. Let's say, I'll show you exactly. I'll show you this. Look at this, team. If we go back in time, go back to early spring, March of this year, your boy Matt DeLong sees this candle right here. Says, wow, look at that. If it ever gets back down there. And you guys can see all of this looks super, super bullish. Nothing really to be scared of, nothing to be cautious about. It looks pretty solid, right? So I see this candle coming, and I'm like, if it gets back to the low that I'm jumping in, I'm going to buy a little bit and I'm going to tippy toe my way in. I'm going to straddle those two moving averages, right? Does everyone see the logic? I mean, it's not a crazy observation. However, you guys know what happened when the vaccine comes out and a lot of people speculating that we won't need telemedicine ever again, which I think it's still very much a solid company. However, the stock does not currently reflect this, doesn't reflect that. But my point is that if you get into a stock, you got to know when to exit for a loss, when to exit for a gain, because these stocks will go up and down, up and down, up and down. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't, oops, I know you can move that. So if you don't, like, if your plan is to exit for a gain up here and the stock gets up there and you do nothing, and then it goes down here and then you panic sell down here when you should be buying and you're selling, and then goes up here and then you jump in again, and then it goes lower again. You're like, oh, I should have known. It's like same mistake. You guys see what I'm saying? You have to have this idea that you have to understand, like, when you're going to be, when to buy, when to sell for a gain, when to sell for a loss. You guys just have to understand that before you even get into a trade, because there's plenty of opportunities to take profits or cut small losers. I know Robert Falco, smart guy. He actually, let's see, Robert, I remember you saying you're taking a loss on FSLY. Was it back in May or somewhere in here, somewhere in this level, I believe. Is that right? But I have options kind of protecting some of my positions on FSLY, but I still have FSLY. I still believe in it. Took the L, moved on. Right. But when was that? Was that in May, June? I want to say it's somewhere in this time frame. Like early summer. So he took the L meaning L equals an R, a negative R. L is a learning unit. So it's, okay, as soon as earnings was crap again, meaning right in this level. Yeah, right in this level. Yeah, so again, you have to understand when to get in, when to get out for a loss, when to get out for a profit. What I see people do all the time is they'll go in real heavy up here near highs, and then it just goes lower and lower and lower and lower. And now they have a $50,000 loss in their account, and they do coaching and they're like, Matt, fix it for me. It's like, well, at what point were you going to bail on the trade if it didn't work out? And so that's kind of what I see people doing, making that mistake is, again, you have to know when to buy, when to lock in gains, when to sell for a loss. When to sell for a loss, you have to understand when you're that right there makes those are the ingredients for the plan. Now, of course, your strategy will dictate some of that for you, right? If you're swing trading or day trading, maybe 2R, a 2R gain is when you lock it in, and a 1R loss is when to sell. But I see people all the time, they're like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to buy $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 worth of stuff, and it just goes lower and lower and lower. And God forbid that you maybe, instead of buying one contract of something up here, you accidentally fat finger and buy 10 contracts. And then it just, like, I don't want to take a small loss. And then it just, a $3,000 loss becomes a $30,000 loss, becomes a bigger and bigger loss. So just be super mindful of this, be super intentional. You have to be very, very intentional with this stuff. Otherwise, you guys can see, you can have tons and tons of gains, but one bad trade that you just let run against you and grind against you just wipes out months and months or years of profits. So just be super, super aggressive when it comes to following the plan, really. That's your one and only job. Execute the plan. Execute. Robert is saying opportunity cost on money could be something else. Yes, absolutely. So what that means is if you're waiting for these stocks to come back and you're really upside down on them, if you're waiting for them to come back to maybe break even or something, that money is like the money that's left is tied up, and you're not chasing good trades because you're worried and focused on the big losers the big red in your account, we should say, right? The big losing trade that just got away from you. So just be mindful of that. Not only are you losing money, but you're also missing out on future opportunities as they come around, as they come through. So, okay, let's take a look at Datadog. Same thing with most of these growth stocks, pushing all-time highs. Be a seller. TWLO kind of chopping around, going sideways. TWLO is making a little bit, if you look at it this way, kind of making a little bit of a pennant pattern. I do expect some more coiling, and then either break higher or break lower. We'll see. I would be tempted to, you got earnings up here. You got a few months, but I would be tempted to think that it would be going higher. We'll see what happens on TWLO. But nothing wrong with setting up some orders, baby steps, tippy-toeing in if you like TWLO. All right, here's a couple of the stocks that I am going to be dumping off my list. One is Beyond Meat. Now, Beyond Meat works really well with Momo, okay? It's one of the best for Momo. But if you guys can look at this chart and figure out what the heck is going on, I can't. It's all over the place. I mean, when you go up here to 220 and then you touch 100 literally like 2 months later, like I don't know what to do with Beyond Meat. It's just all over the place. So I'm taking this off my list, off my 15 list. Peloton, same type of thing. it's okay. I like Peloton. I like the product. The chart is kind of broken. So when you're closing here below our 200 some moving averages, here we close back in early, let's see, in the spring we closed below, but we pop back above, and then we've kind of hung out down here below the 200 some moving average for quite some time, and it's not recovering. So I'm going to take Peloton off my list. Roku, I actually like, it is below the 200 simple moving average just for a little bit, but I think we're going to recover here shortly. This is my exact plan on Roku. So for those of you who are interested, I do have 60% of my shares. So if you're not in Roku, look at this. You can probably get a better price, better entry than I have. So my entries are 365, 350, 335, and then 320. So those are my 4 levels. And if we close below this, I am going to be buying protective puts. I'm going to be buying insurance against a lower move. I'm going to be putting the emergency brakes on while keeping the shares. Yep. And I believe this is the first time in a while since COVID that it even got below the 200 some moving average, kind of back here. COVID last year, where just chopping around. I think it's going to bounce soon. We'll see what happens, but I'm in regardless. I got my open orders ready to go. Got my my third leg rather right here today. Boom. We'll see what happens on Roku. Pinterest is kind of it looks like a broken chart as well. Gap down, never quite recovered. If anybody is interested in, I'm tippy-toeing into this. So on this day, on Wednesday, when we're up here at the 57, 58 range, I'm like, I'm going to just buy a little bit in my retirement account. Just a little bit, just a little bit. So I had an open order. It got filled today. It's already profitable, not by a bunch, just by pennies. So I'm buying just a little bit. I'm tippy-toeing into this. But the thing that I notice here is kind of what you guys probably see too, which is this selling volume here on this day with this massive volume. I don't see anything except over here, I guess. I don't see anything. I mean, I don't see anything that is telling me. What I'm seeing here is that this kind of seems like a high, seems like a new resistance level. Right now, if we pop above that, then yeah, of course, we're gonna get back up above the 200 some moving average. But I feel like this chart is broken as well. So I am tippy-toeing in. Yep, tippy-toeing in. Eric is saying that Amazon is competing with Roku. I heard Amazon competes with everybody. They even compete with their own customers, which is kind of crazy. I wish Amazon would spin off their AWS service. I would be very, very bullish on that. Any plans? They're making their own TV. Nice. Makes sense. Yeah. Well, they call it the Amazon Basics. That's like their brand. The Amazon Basics is their, like, you can buy batteries, jump ropes, all kinds of stuff with Amazon Basics. Okay, so let me show you a new one that I like. This is PD. This is PagerDuty. So I actually have shares on this in my long-term account. I don't really talk about this because I set up a trade back in March, got filled on my levels. And then when you know it, you gap up today. So right at the open this morning, I went ahead and sold a $55 covered call and I bought a $50 put. What does that mean? That means I locked in my gain at 50. My average cost basis is actually 36 and change. So down here, 36 and change. So held that for a few months, boom, locked in my gain. Now, do I think it's going to close the gap in the next few weeks? Probably. Guess what? I'm able to sell. You guys would have to sell your shares down here if it does close this gap. Whatever the price is, I got mine locked in at $50. So kind of locked in a, what was that, $14 per share. Got several hundred shares, but $14 per share gain on that. And I only came out of pocket. I think it was like, I'm going to say $300 per contract. No, $300 for several contracts. So just minimal amount. So imagine buying insurance on the cheap and then needing it. No one knew. This could have been like Mongo database where just Moon Lambo's higher, right? You really know. So at the it's pretty significant gap up. So at the open, let's measure that. At the open, it was about 13, 12 and a half, 13% at the open. So that's my plan. That's what I'm doing. Obviously, if you're not in the shares, have some open orders, again, straddling these moving averages. Now, these moving averages are reversed. This is not exactly textbook what I would look for. However, this gap up, as long as it can hold up here, these moving averages should reverse fairly quickly within the next couple, 2-3 weeks. That's pager duty. And then a new one, I really like this one, is DigitalOcean. Real life trading, actually, our dashboard lives here at DigitalOcean. Did you guys know that? Yep, that's right. This dashboard right here lives in DigitalOcean. It lives there. And fairly new IPO. I don't typically trade things like this very, very early, but I'm very bullish on this. Very, very bullish. And I think this could, these are one of these smaller companies that could 10x in the next 5-10 years. So let's take a look at some numbers here. So obviously it did have a pretty crazy run today. I don't buy it at all-time highs. That's been my rule. However, you guys can see here, sales not super spectacular. They're in the cloud space, but I think this is a pretty decent, not the best, but it's really close to what I would consider buyable. So we had a little bit of a pullback and then pop higher. So I think it's a solid company. We're obviously a customer as well, but I think it's a good solid company. I like these tech companies. Gross margin is nothing to sneeze at, 56.80. Yeah, had earnings last month. So you guys can see here the volume kind of picked up ever since it kind of woke the stock up. It was just kind of trickling along, kind of going sideways, and then kind of woke up, boom. So that is one that is now on my list. Andrew says great servers. Yeah, it's pretty simple to use, the interface, which is pretty nice. I always hate the prepackaged cPanel user interfaces. That always drives me nuts. Those things were like built years ago. I don't like some of those user interfaces, but this one's pretty easy to spin up new devices, new servers, cloud infrastructure, and set it up and scale very easily. So Jonathan says Heroku is better than DigitalOcean. So Heroku is hosted on AWS. I'm not sure what you mean by better. Obviously, that's opinions, but Heroku is AWS. Is that right? It's owned by CRM, but is it on AWS? I think they're okay. Yeah. So AWS. Yeah. I mean, how crazy would it be if Amazon decided to spin off their AWS business? I'm curious what would happen to the stock, the retail piece, when they take the huge technology piece out of it. I don't know. One day we'll find out. But it'd be curious to see what their revenue does, what their sales and their margins do. Jonathan's saying DigitalOcean is partly in AWS too. Parts of it, huh? Nice. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, don't be the guy who buys right there. Wait for a pullback. Wait for something. If you don't know a strategy, use something like this. It tells you when to buy, when to sell. Went from 53 to 74, and it's still in. On this exact strategy. Cloudflare is another one that I like. I believe Jonathan Wage is a fan of Cloudflare. Again, all these tech stocks are at highs or near all-time highs. So don't be a buyer, be a seller up here. Be patient. When you see stuff like this is what I do. When I see stuff like this, when I'm like, wow, that's just rocketing higher, I tell myself, okay, I don't want to buy here, but I want to keep it on my list and wait for it to go lower and some kind of a bounce, and then buy it like at these levels down here. Don't buy it up here. Don't be that person. Don't chase price action higher. Every time I've chased price higher, I've always regretted it, always, but be patient. It did take a while for these things to kind of rebound. You guys can see clearly here from February. Come on, Mr. Squiggles. From February through May, it just kind of chopped around, didn't it? It kind of made a little bit of a high, kind of a false breakout, chopped around, and then moon Lambo. So again, when you make new all-time highs like this, put some orders in, wait for them to get filled. It's not going to get filled immediately. It will take weeks or months, but that's what you want. Would you rather buy it at 100 or 130? You know, if you're talking about thousands of shares, it's a big difference in your cost basis. So just be mindful of that. The other one that I'm in already all the way is this one. You guys may have heard me talk about this. This is Apps Digital Turbine. I'm in. I got all the shares I want. I'm already profitable, and I'm going to be looking on something like this. I'm going to be looking for a opportunity to set up a collar. So depending on what happens in the next few weeks, I want a strong kind of pop up here in this level, the 80 to 85, 88 level, and I'm going to be setting up a collar, so I'm locking in my gains without actually selling. We'll see what happens, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm already in. I'm just ready for some of this to take off. So lastly, Fastly and TWLO down here, my bet of shaving my head still holds, still have my golden locks. And you guys know that I said this, it's been almost a month ago. The base of this candle, because of the buying volume, I think holds well as like a support level for these two. All the buying volume that comes in on this, I don't see any candle, any buying volume. And when you look to the left, except for this guy, but this is still a little bit bigger. Again, the base of that candle holds really well as support. And you can see that play out right here, where it almost had to shave my head, but we didn't close below. We came within 134.77. Oh my God, 3 cents. But actually it didn't close down there, but it closed 17 cents off. So yeah. So again, these charts are technically, they're broken. I'm already in these, so I'm just executing my plan on these, waiting. So yeah, I did have 2 real quick requests, UEC and CRM. Let's touch on those. CRM, let's take a look-see. Yeah, definitely bullish, but geez, it's all over the place. So kind of like I don't know if you would even consider this like a double bottom neckline break. I don't see, let's see, definitely I think our based on the selling volume, there might be a little bit of a short-term resistance, obviously up here, can't get above that based on the selling volume. I could see it kind of coming back down to this level, and this previous resistance level, and becoming like a support. So for me, what I would recommend if you wanted to jump into this would be somewhere around the 251 level, set up a buy order. Set up a buy order. If you're looking to pyramid in, if you want to buy as the price action goes lower, you can certainly do that. And I would set those up a little bit further down. But this is not a bad spot to get a little bite, take a little bite off that. Shoot, that's still not even a 10% pullback, is it? All right, if you want to be super conservative, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be your levels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Yep, that's what I would do. Salesforce was like the Mac Daddy of software as a service back in the 2000 when the IPO, 2002, 2003, something like that. Let's take a look. This doesn't show the IPO date. Huh. That's weird. Let's see. Screener, CRM. There's an IPO date. IPO date here. That's weird. Okay, 2004. That's weird. It shows on this screen, but not this screen. Let's see. 2004. Nope, not on that screen. Interesting. Okay, well, CRM, that's what I would do. That's what I recommend. TWLO, I would not be buying at or near these all-time highs. So I like to look at trades like as far as probabilities. Could I buy here near highs and it goes higher for a little bit? Yes, absolutely could. But you want to execute a strategy. Like, what's better than a winning trade is a system that can produce winning trades over and over, right? So this one, I mean, look at this. This looks bullish, but I don't know that I would buy up here. I mean, this looks like 2/3 of a rollover, like an evening star. So evening star reversal is one up candle, one what we call indecision candle, and then one lower. So these two candles represent the up and the indecision, not necessarily the sell-off just yet, but I don't know, I would be buying up there. Unless it was able to maybe gap up here. But I don't like these little penny stocks personally. Uranium Energy, not really sure what they do, but it does look like it's holding a trend well, and does look like it does respect this 200 simple moving average. So when it closes below the 200 simple moving average, like here, it doesn't take long and it just kind of recovers. So that's kind of a good sign. AKA TDOC, not good, but it does look like it's kind of respecting that. I don't know if there's news or whatever coming in, but I would say if it was the gap up above that, it would certainly be day tradable, but I don't know if I would buy up there. Up at the 320. So all right, cool. Let me know what you guys would like to see on the, I guess it would be on Tuesday since we're closed on Monday. What stocks would you guys like us to review? Jonathan says the Salesforce platform is so bad relative to HubSpot, in my opinion. Are you talking about all the app integrations? They're crazy complicated, aren't they? Way more complicated than they need to be. Okay, let's get started. So PENN, 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 Redfin, RDFN. Oh, the whole CRM. Yeah, it's kind of, I feel like it's clunky, way too clunkier. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Have a great weekend. MA, Ethereum. Let's take a look at that. What is that? That was moon Lamboing earlier this week. Yeah, continuing. Yep. Zoom. You got me some Ethereum. BNGO. What else? Let's take a look at BABA. I know some traders still have BABA. It's kind of an eyesore right now. Geez, look at that. CVS, okay. MasterCard, Lyft, LIFT, UPST. Yeah, I was talking about this one today. UPST, Upstart. Okay, nice. Logi, RKLB. RKLB. Rocket Lab. Huh. Nice. RTX. All right, team. Have yourself a great Labor Day weekend. Got it, Craig. TSP. Got it. And don't forget to love life, live life, and trade it. Thank you, and have a great evening.